thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
We don't have to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it. Yeah. Good morning, you guys. It is Wednesday. It's Hump Day, February 4th, 2026. And today is National Sweater Day, you guys.
You don't need them out here in the West Coast. It's kind of warm.
Bro, I've been cold. I've been wearing hoodies, bro. I've been banging sweaters. You know what I mean? Yeah. I like a good sweater. I like a good sweater. You know what I mean? Well, you don't go outside that much, Dale. Maybe. You know what I'm saying? You sit inside next to the fireplace.
Yeah, with my feet up. And
exactly, and you're lazy boy.
Red Bull has wings and all that shit.
Exactly.
I gotta say, props to Lazy Boy. I've been studying ad material lately. Just wanting to come up with new campaigns, and they have this new Lazy Boy campaign, and it's brilliant. And I want to buy a Lazy Boy.
Well, you know what's brilliant is actually, I can't believe I'm even saying this. But the new Budweiser commercial, that's for the Super Bowl. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
They do great work.
The little baby eagle.
I haven't seen this one.
The little baby eagle. Have you seen this? The little baby eagle and the Clydesdale. It's their Super Bowl ad. It's so good.
I worked with a team who produced a Budweiser commercial for the Super Bowl a couple years ago with all the veterans when they did that commercial. I think one thing that Budweiser has an edge on, and maybe cannabis operators, if we want to tie it in. Obviously, they got the money, but aside from that, they are really leaning into storytelling and human storytelling. And I think we could have more variety in our space. Like, it's all beer, right? But it's all different stories, different people. So it's weed.
No, this is in regards with the storytelling. It's a fantastic story. It's a little baby bald eagle that falls out of its nest and makes friends with the Budweiser Clydesdale. And then all of a sudden it's raining one day and the little baby eagle is like getting rained on, and the horse comes over and stands over it and covers it, and so shields it from the rain. And and they're besties and whatnot. And then finally the eagle grows up and the horse is running and the eagle is riding on the back of the horse. You know what I'm saying? And then the horse starts to jump and the sun is shining, and all you see is these massive wingspan spread out on the side of the horse, looking like a flying Pegasus, and then the eagle just takes off. It's so awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check it out. It sounds like a beautiful visual story, and I think that's what we can learn from his story. It's so good. Story is key.
It's so good. It's also National Girls and Women in Sports Day, and I actually really support this. I think we need to bring back Glow Wrestling. The gorgeous ladies of wrestling, I think we need to bring that back. I think we need to bring back the roller derby. And I think we need to actually be promoting women's sports that people actually want to watch.
Jason, don't be offensive now.
I'm just saying. It's not offensive. It's true.
I love the glow. It's like you start off, look, Glow, I get it. We don't need to do all the mud silliness. But actually, when you look at the women behind Glow who put it on, turning that into worldwide, it was a part of the early development years of worldwide entertainment.
There's
got to be some
fantastic.
respect for that.
Much love to
let's go women in sports. I'm all
Yeah.
about that. Like,
and
go
only
get
and only
healthy.
and only real women in sports. No men that think that they're ladies in sports.
I think
I said
individual
it.
categories is appropriate
No,
in
it's
some
not.
respects.
It's not. None of that shit is appropriate. None of it.
I just said
None of it.
individual categories. You're disagreeing already with some.
None of that shit is appropriate. But it's also National Homemade Soup Day.
Everybody can play sports. I don't care what's happening between your legs.
I do.
Male puberty is a performance-enhancing drug, unlike cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
What did I say? Individual categories. Did I not say individual categories?
No, I'm not for none of that. Not for none of that.
Not for people being allowed to play sports.
I'm not only men and women. That's fine, and that's it. Other than that, it's also National Homemade Soup Day.
I'm gonna throw the soup in your face. No,
I don't care.
No soup for you.
Ain't nobody worried about that. It's a badge of honor in Mike, as far as I see it.
I know people would love it.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Create a Vacuum Day. This is not for making hickeys, Chris. Okay. All right.
I'm disappointed.
I know. And so, here, I'm going to go into it because it's a little, Create a Vacuum Day. Let's see. Create a Vacuum Day. National Create a Vacuum Day is a vacuum is created when the pressure inside a space is lower than the pressure outside the area. It's difficult in a world full of minuscule particles of matter to create a space that has absolutely no matter. However, we create partial or simple vacuums at home. One of the easiest ways is using a syringe by plugging up the open end and pulling back on the plunger. The space inside will be mostly free of matter, and there will always be a microscopic particles remaining, though. So I guess today is the day to clog your toilet. Sounds like to me. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds like the category's full of shit, so that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not mad at that. I'm not that. It's also, this is one of my favorite days, National Thank a Mail Carrier Day. Mail carriers are the people, they give me the most PTSD.
What about female carriers?
Oh, I see. That's yeah. Shout out to female characters. Yeah, carriers. I like that. Chris. That was good. That was good. I'm so mad I didn't think of that. I'm really disappointed in myself. But that was fantastic. And most importantly of all, you guys, this is for you, Shaun, especially. It's National Hemp Day today on a Wednesday. Yes, see, look at she got excited and smiled. Ha ha!
I'm not covering it today, but maybe someone will do it later. NPR is covering hemp, marijuana. What's the difference? It's all cannabis. I've seen NPR shores.
I've seen that story the last few days, and I was just like, this is stupid, and there's no reason to cover it. This is a dumb story.
It was a great story.
It's
Jason,
stupid.
What are you talking about?
It's stupid.
You're just assuming because it's NPR, it was bad. They were basically
everything
saying
NPR does is bad.
Marijuana are the same, and explaining
they're
the
indoctrinators.
history to all of the general public. You gotta stop shitting on things just because you're gonna assume you disagree with them.
I don't need to assume.
Silly. No way to celebrate National Hemp Day.
No. This is stupid.
When hemp and marijuana are both cannabis.
They're all the same thing. If it doesn't say, it should just have one line and say they're all the same thing. Stupid. Cannabis sativa L. That should be their whole. That should be how. That should be their whole story right there. That's it. And on that,
liberal boomers need it broken down to them just like anybody else.
Man, well, on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. So thank you all for joining us from whatever platform you're joining us from. And starting off today, the Ohio AG certifies language for a referendum challenging changes to voter-approved cannabis laws, you guys. That's right. A referendum campaign in Ohio to reverse recently approved changes to the state's adult use cannabis program took a significant step forward today after AG Dave Yost certified the proposal summary language. The certification allows the advocacy groups Ohioans for Cannabis Choice to begin collecting signatures statewide in an attempt to place the issue before the voters. Yost had rejected the group's initial petition language in January, requiring a revised version to be submitted. And in a letter issued on Tuesday, he said the updated title and summary are, in quotes, fair and truthful, clearing the procedural hurdle needed for the campaign to move forward. At the same time, Yost emphasized that his certification does not amount to an endorsement of the referendum's legal footing, and in a quote says, "My certification of the title and summary," Yost wrote, "should not be construed as an affirmation of the enforceability and constitutionality of the referendum petition." So he's stepping away. The referendum targets Senate Bill 56, which was signed into law in December, and the proposal restructures multiple aspects of Ohio's voter-approved cannabis system, including banning all public consumption of cannabis products, requiring that cannabis possessed in the state be purchased from a licensed Ohio dispensary, and tightening transportation and paraphernalia rules, adding new criminal penalties for exceeding home grow limits, and folding intoxicating hemp products into the regulated system, and capping the total number of dispensaries statewide at 400. They should have made it 420, but whatever. With certification now granted, Ohioans for Cannabis Choice can begin its broader signature drive, and to qualify for the ballot, the campaign must gather more than 248,000 valid signatures from registered voters across the state. If successful, the referendum would pause implementation of SB 56 and send the issue to voters for a statewide decision, you guys. Wow, wow, wow. Shout out to Ohio and these activists. They're getting with it. And I actually support this because I don't think that the Ohio legislature had the right to do this and you know what I'm saying, go against the will of the people, especially when the will of the people was the only thing that was supposed to be able to change the initiative in the first place. And so shout out to these activists, and I'm glad that the AG certified this language, and we'll see if they can get those 248,000 signatures. And what do you guys have to say about this?
Referendums are pure democracy, and they get messy.
Yep.
But the rules for referendums around the country vary in every state.
Yep.
And how you can change them. Pure democracy is what you do when the legislature has its head up its ass, can't manage to pass bills the people want. You have to go around them. They tend to build into these the ability for legislature to chip away at them and change them. So I'd be interested to see if it does get on the ballot, if someone tries to challenge the constitutionality of it, or the constitutionality of changing the initial referendum that was passed. Because we've had them here in California where they've tried to, make changes to referendums, and the Supreme Court just says, no, we're not having any of that. And changes to the legislature. You got to go back to the people. And it's messy, and politics is messy, and right now there seems to be schizophrenia all over the place when it comes to policy for cannabis. And I don't even know what to say, because some of it's just so incredibly stupid, trying to pass laws you can't enforce, and then taking it back to criminal penalties and things like that. I think that ship already sailed. How can we get this to be more like an alcohol model as opposed to heroin?
Yeah, I feel you.
As if they want an alcohol model, it feels like there's two lobbies fighting each other. There's alcohol model or pharmaceutical model, and they aren't on the same side, so they can't make a decision.
Well, these guys, they're trying to roll in all of the hemp sales into all the weed stores, because they're trying to say, hey, they're listening to NPR and trying to be like, it's all the same plant, so it all needs to be sold in the same stores.
This very show, I've done numerous stories. This aside, focus. This aside, I want. Dale was explaining it very well, and honestly, I don't need to add too much to it. But to say, I know it's great. all I would add is that it reminds me, often we think getting the petition and the signature and the referendum, we look at that goal and we're like, get to that end goal, and then we'll feel relief on the other side. And I just want to share an epiphany I've had over the last several weeks is every time you think you're going to get to the relief on the other side, like right now we're in the dishes rulemaking process down here in Texas. And you think after this, we're going to get to the other side, regardless of whatever rules they make, someone is going to litigate it. So I do want to say, like, yay, do it. Do not be discouraged. Keep doing it. Keep showing up. And also remember, this is a marathon with sprint intervals. So you got to show up ready to go hard when it's time to go hard. And then you need to pace yourself out through the rest of the year and make sure that you're maintaining consistency because that's how we're going to get policy actually through.
Consistency.
And then if you're getting really tired and you're exhausted, then you got to ask yourself when it's time to teach the next generation and pick up the cloth for you. Because I know a lot of people in cannabis they're tired, they've had enough, they want to move on with their lives. It's not worked out for them. Don't give everything up, mentor the next group, and then retire if you want, or change careers.
Interesting, you guys.
It's hard to mentor when you're exhausted and broke.
I know, but we're Americans. We're all exhausted, broke, frustrated.
No, we're not. We're excited and exuberated because we're getting America back.
Show up.
Yeah. We're fired up, making things happen. You know, Groundhog Day was yesterday. You know what I'm saying? He came out and he said, oh, you know what? We got 3 more years coming up. Here we go. And on that, we're going to go into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back.
The Epstein.
Well, you guys, oh man. So interesting things happen out there in the great state of Missouri. Hold on, Shaun, hold on. Because marijuana companies sue dozens of smoke shops for selling THCA hemp flower, you guys. That's right. The lawsuit argue that the arrangement creates an uneven playing field, while hemp businesses say they're following federal law. A coalition of marijuana companies is filing lawsuits against businesses across the great state of Missouri, accusing dozens of stores of illegally selling marijuana under the guise of THCA hemp flower and undercutting the state's regulated cannabis market. The lawsuits target nearly 40 stores in St. Louis County and 17 businesses in the Kansas City area, including major hemp chains such as American Shaman and CBD Kratom. More lawsuits are expected next week as the coalition expands its effort to halt what its attorney, Chris McHugh, described as widespread unfair competition. The lawsuits argue that the arrangement creates an uneven playing field, with licensed marijuana cultivators paying nearly $30,000 a year in fees and dispensaries more than $11,000, in addition to extensive testing and compliance costs to sell a product the suit describes as chemically identical to THCA hemp flower. McHugh said the coalition, made up of roughly 20 marijuana companies, turned to the courts only after years of inaction by state lawmakers who he said failed for 3 consecutive sessions to pass regulations governing THCA products. Ever since the 2018 Farm Bill removed hemp from the federal controlled substance list, hemp THCA flower has made its way into more smoke shops and stores every year. In a quote, "We've sat by and watched this grow with disbelief," McHugh said. "They're selling marijuana to anyone, and they're arguing that they have the right to do this, whether it be a kid, whether it be somebody picking up for DoorDash, with no regulation, no guidelines, no guardrails, and it's just getting bigger and bigger." McHugh's clients are asking for monetary damages and a permanent injunction barring the stores from marketing, distributing, or selling any marijuana or THCA flower. Jay Patel, owner of one of these stores being sued and is a board member of the Missouri Hemp Trade Association, called the lawsuit baseless and unfair. This is an attempt to stomp out competition and engage them in a costly and time-consuming process, Patel said. Patel doesn't deny the products are chemically identical, but he said federal law allows him to sell his product because it's tested under the guideline of 0.3% Delta-9 THC, while the intoxicating component of the cannabis sativa plant, he said, has documentation proving his products have been grown on a hemp farm and have been tested to make sure they align with federal law. The association, he said, has urged lawmakers to pass labeling, testing, and age-gating regulations in Missouri for THCA hemp flower, and in absence of that, his store and other association members have self-imposed these guardrails, though he acknowledges there are some bad actors who don't. But there are 10,000 retailers in Missouri that deal with hemp-based products, Patel said. Yet the Marijuana Coalition is going after small-scale businesses in St. Louis. At least one St. Louis store that the coalition sued doesn't even sell hemp products at all, Patel said, and another 2 are already permanently closed. In a quote, "This lawsuit is much more malicious, and they're picking stores that are close to them, perhaps, or just looking at smaller fish to them that might not have the resources to battle them. And I think that they're trying to intimidate store owners with a focus on minority owners." It's heating up. But there is a saying, if it's not lit, it's legit. And for the hemp industry, if weed has tested below 0.3% Delta-9 THC before it's smoked, then it's hemp and legal to be sold outside of licensed dispensaries in Missouri. There's a lot of marijuana in the industry that if it was started outside of the marijuana industry, it could be called hemp, said Brian Regal, a leader with the Missouri Hemp Trade Association. Because it started in a marijuana facility, it will always be marijuana. The association argues these sued businesses are within their federal rights to sell THCA flower and will be supporting the businesses in their legal defense. When the federal government was defining marijuana and hemp, it used a standard that hemp is anything under 0.3% Delta-9 THC by dry weight. The problem is when marijuana is in its raw form, it typically has very little Delta-9 THC, and it has THCA, and that transforms into Delta-9 when heated or decarboxylized. In other words, a joint won't get you high until you light it. And when Congress passed the Farm Bill in 2018, it didn't specify total THC when legalizing hemp, which would have included THCA according to the Cannabis Regulators Association, which represents state marijuana regulators across the nation. And since then, Congress has heard from the Regulators Association and others that the oversight has led to businesses selling THCA hemp flower or buds containing less than 0.3% Delta-9 THC. THCA products, including flower, vape cartridges, and concentrates, are indistinguishable from marijuana products sold in dispensaries, the association stated in comments to Congress. That's why in November, Congress passed a provision in the spending bill to prohibit hemp products from having more than 0.3% total THC, which is intended to ban the open sale of THCA flower. Well, that's not only why, that's these guys, it's because the bourbon industry, you guys, paid off Mitch McConnell. Anyways, Missouri lawmakers are set to debate 2 bills next week that will bring the state in alignment with the new federal definition that's set to go into effect in November, and one proposal by Republican State Representative Dave Hinman of O'Fallon would allow Missouri to sell the products if Congress decides to permit the sale. The other bill, sponsored by Republican State Senator David Gregory of Chesterfield, includes an emergency clause, meaning it would be enacted as soon as the lawmakers approve it and the governor signs it, and the ban wouldn't reverse if Congress passes legislation allowing the sale of intoxicating hemp products. McHugh said a preliminary injunction may become unnecessary if Gregory's bill passes, but not if Hinman's proposal is approved. And in a quote, "This is marijuana. No one in Missouri ever voted for the unregulated, unfettered sale of marijuana to anyone who walks by. So that's what's happening, and why we wouldn't do everything we can do to stop that as soon as possible, I just don't know. Nicholas Thomas, co-owner of a gift shop in University City, named in the lawsuit, said he has one small display case with a few THCA flower products, and they're sold in a separate area in the store that only people older than 21 can enter. Local police have allowed him to continue selling it after he explained it's legal under federal law, and police officers can only enforce state law unless they're partnering with a federal law enforcement agency, according to the Law Enforcement Legislative Coalition, which represents police chiefs across Missouri. Thomas said he plans to continue selling it until federal law changes in November, and Thomas called the coalition's legal argument flawed because the federal definition of hemp doesn't include THCA, only Delta-9. See, to me, it's kind of like if the law says I can only sell 12 dozen cookies a day. Well, I sold a tub of cookie dough. Now, do I need to do the math on how many cookies that tub makes? Nobody's going to expect me to do that. And the only thing difference between cookie dough and cookies is how long it's been in the oven for. Oh, that's a great analogy. Oh, man. Cookie dough. Dale, what do you have to say about this lawsuit, Missouri?
Well, this is why people hate politicians and lawyers.
Yeah.
Okay? Because to try to define hemp with some vague and ambiguous legal language just doesn't work. It hasn't worked. You have to have all-inclusive language in there, and then you're still going to have pissing matches over what it is. I mean, for those of us who have ever smoked hemp, you know right away it's hemp. Okay? And if it gets you high, it's not hemp. So, I mean, that's the de facto problem they have here. And, you know, I don't give this a whole lot of merit because there's that huge, and you don't like the word loophole, but it's a vague and ambiguous area in the law. And most states didn't go back into their Controlled Substances Act and correct it. Every place they did is turned into a goddamn nightmare. Okay. Because people try to split hairs between what's hemp and what's marijuana. It's the same goddamn plant. And that's the problem they have. And the other problem is that people out there that want to consume this are telling you with their pocketbooks, get out of the way and stop this nonsense. Okay. The politicians are just not hearing that. And lawyers take a look at the language. What does it say? It says Delta-9, and this is THCA. Like the definitions don't match. You can't take things away from me without due process here, and I'm following what the law says. And it's a mess. It's a clusterfuck. It's a clown show is what it is. It just makes people shake their head and go, I can't stand politicians and lawyers because look, people want something, and they're just trying to gum up the works every place you look. And it's just infuriating. It's stupid. But it's the reality that we're facing on the streets today.
I do appreciate the attorneys, though, in this instance, because, and I like this guy. Listen, I'm rooting for brands like Illicit out there in Missouri, but I'm not gonna turn my back on hemp because, Dale, to your point, you're right, it's cannabis. But like the guy says, he sells cookie dough, THCA, and that is lawful. So, and the merits are evident because it's being debated in the federal in the Congress, federal legislation, and the lettered agencies with Department of Justice, and in many state legislative and rulemaking agency sessions right now. So merits are definitely there because if they weren't, this wouldn't even be a question. We wouldn't have to be debating it in all of these spaces. They made very clear language in some states, and now we have a very clean comparison of what happens when you have an open hemp market. In some areas, now let's look at all the data. We have California with its regulation, and you can look at all the regulated marijuana states. And then you can look at the states that have a marijuana program and a hemp program as well. Not a program, but a hemp market. And you have to decide, did they, or look at the law, did they define it? Did they go into their Controlled Substances Act? If they didn't, On the hemp side, you're probably an Arab because they didn't. But if they did in these highly conservative states like Texas, not Missouri, kind of in the middle, but sometimes leaning red, they did. They went back and they wrote something specific. And they like to fry you on specificity in the law when they're suing you. Then that remains true for the access and rights of the people. And so THCA is non-psychoactive. There are non-decarboxylated purposes for THCA. You don't have to decarboxylate it to still benefit from it. It has nutritional value. There's all sorts of things. We don't have to go through that. But I think they have a good case. It's going to be a debate. And I would hope that instead of spending money litigating, we could spend more money coming together as cannabis, hemp, and marijuana. Because I know it's not going to happen. And why won't it happen? Because of ego. Because people are mad that they took the first deal and that they didn't see the THCA thing, and their profitability is injured because of it. Not because of these other operators, but because they made a bad business decision a few years ago to go all the way in on their regulatory structure and framework that screwed them. You agreed to get screwed, and now you're mad that you're screwed, and you want to go screw somebody else? Not for me. I hope
screw them all.
Reconsider and come to the table, because we're gonna if we continue with this infighting approach, someone who has no clue at all is going to make the rules, and it'll be.
Hold on, that's already been happening. That's already been happening.
I know.
It's the same thing with the guys that went all in on hemp, and now they're getting regulated in other markets. So how, as a business person and a pro-cannabis advocate, if you're at that crossroads, let's say 2019, how do you decide what is the correct moral and legitimate pathway? Is it medical adult use, or is it hemp? It's very confusing for the average person that just wants to produce a good product at the end of the day. And it's unfortunate that it comes down to definitions and syntax and interpretations of the law. As an idealist, free the plant. I agree. But to have these different markets pitting against each other, and we can talk about special interests and greed, but that exists everywhere. It exists on the hemp side, on the medical side. If you're just a lay person who's been growing for years, and you want to get into some kind of, open regulated market, how do you know where you are, where you stand, if you should go into hemp or medical? You can't say, oh, well, that's what they get because they spent all this money and now they're getting screwed. It's confusing to the average person.
They're automatically excluded because they wouldn't even have access to the capital to do medical. So they came up with a solution that by legal
not in Maine.
And that's why you have to look at it case by case. You have to look at every state and then decide which one in this great 7-8 year experiment since 2018, where did we see the most successes? Where did the programs where are they not hemorrhaging? Like, look at the data. We have so much data, and instead we're arguing about, like, what were the primary argument? I'm flipping my lighter over here. The primary arguments on the side of the opposition weren't centered on legalese or definitions. It was centered on, we don't want folks having marijuana everywhere. That's why I also get a little when we bring in the question of morality. When we have to consider ethics and morality when creating laws, but morality is also so subjective. That's why we have to be very clear in definitions. And I want to give Dale, you tell me, how do we do it? With the law, you have to define things clearly. They did. And this is not included. And I hear, Chris, it's not me saying go screw yourself, because I work with those operators, but these large MSOs who are suing other people, come on, litigation is their tactic. So it's hard for me to have empathy for them, because I know that's one of their business strategies. Many of them just don't want to build a good business. They just want to out-litigate and outlive everyone and then acquire and then be acquired. That is actually a strategy. And so we've got to be mindful
as well. I mean, you have giant MSOs.
It's in every market. It's not cannabis or hemp unique. This is how American business is conducted and how you have to run through this system, and that we all have to be survive. Like you have to. So how do people determine if they want to do hemp or medical? By looking up their legal definitions, what their state legislature said, and then building a business off of that, which is what a lot of hemp operators did.
That could completely change in 6 months.
Yep.
So you build a whole business.
Then what? We don't.
Hold on, Shaun, hold on. Let Chris talk.
It takes 18 months minimum to get any of these businesses off the ground. Dale, I'm sure you know that. You have clients that deal with that. And by the time you've produced your first gram, not even sold it, they've changed the regulations on you twice. This is really just
they do that. That's true.
A game of greed and oversight. And all the operators are kind of caught in the middle of it. The MSOs have the ability to navigate it a little better because they have money. But in general, it's screwing the common person. And I can't hate on someone that goes the medical or adult use route or the hemp route. There's plenty of bad actors on the hemp side as well. There's plenty of people operating in a medical state, backdooring it to another state as hemp. There's so many instances. These lines are so blurred right now that nothing makes sense. And at the end of the day, it is just cookies and cookie dough. And we're trying to sue each other over syntax, basically, over what we think this word means. Because we all know deep down it's the same thing. I'm not arguing that. But it does create, I don't want to call the product a loophole because we've gone over that many times, but it does create almost infinite routes and loopholes for these businesses to exploit, essentially, when there isn't a steady pathway, a steady route for an honest, morally good business person that wants to partake in some kind of cannabis product. I just want to grow good weed and sell it to people. I'll pay the taxes. I'll do whatever. You want to call it hemp, you want to call it medical, whatever you want to call it, whatever testing you want to put on me, I'll do it. I just want to play this game, and you keep changing the rules.
Chris, I hear you, and I wasn't saying that that's exclusive to adult use or medical, because I work with operators in both of those verticals too. What I'm saying is that is every American industry. That is capitalism. That is how it is. They're going to change shit on you, and then they're going to sue you, and they're going to try to come at you for everything. They're going to make up lies about you, and they're going to try to throw your ass in jail. And we all know this. And
that's what they were doing to Trump.
I feel people in cannabis, Jason. No,
it's true.
I understand the pain that people in cannabis, whether you're in marijuana or hemp, are going through. And what I'm trying to get us around the corner on is that's business, and it sucks. And that's why it's also important when you create these laws. That's why I believe in the hemp framework more than I do in the marijuana framework, because fewest rules possible to keep people safe and that you can enforce. And we have
Hold on, are you turning into a Republican right now? Fewest rules possible?
No, Jason, I've always been about common sense. That's why I'm the mediator. Okay. I'm a mediator. You're an extremist. So you think I'm a far leftist, but I'm a mediator. I get a lot of experience there. I've worked for 3 different administrations, Republican, Democrat, Republican, and different. It's all neutrality to me because, frankly, I'm a mom. I don't care. And I grew up in the dirt. So everything I've got is like, oh, wow, this is better than where I came from every single time. I'm going to keep working my ass off for the people because I understand what it's like to be fucked. You know,
easy there.
Oh, damn, I was so close. We were so good. But life, you know, I understand we're all going when people are going through a hard time. And what I saw from the hemp operators on the ground is most of them are earnest mom and pops. They looked up those legal definitions. They found a way and they built on that. I understand there were operators who were able to acquire capital to be able to play in the marijuana game, but that has largely excluded a lot of people. And so it, for me, is not the best regulatory framework. And then all the
too early in all these market dynamics to cast that broad of a net. Just because you had money to get into the medical side, that means that you're greedy automatically.
I didn't say that. You're making these equivalences that I didn't say. That is your, that is how
sounds like you're generalizing to me.
I'm not. I'm saying other people don't have access to that capital. And yes, some people were able to get access to that capital.
Then Chris is right.
And then they entered that market. That is what I said. And then that market largely excludes a lot of other people. However you feel about it that is something that I didn't say. And so that I hear you. But that's why we need to get over
said.
what we're feeling and actually get to the facts here.
It is kind of what you said,
hemp, marijuana, pull the emotions out, look at the legal definitions, and find yourself the best rule set for all of us. I promise you, almost every single time, it's not the marijuana pathway.
Emotions are way overrated.
Just testing and regulation, but it's gone too far in some of those states, like California, and you can see it.
What do you mean we've gone too far?
We should evaluate that data. They've overregulated you guys to death.
They have done that. That part's true. You know,
yes.
Expecting the government to be logical is your first mistake.
Thank you, Dale.
That's the reason the hemp pathway has been more exploited and become more mainstream, is because we've excluded so many people that want to do the right thing from the other route. And in most bigger markets like Florida, like California, you know, they've made the cost of entry so high. So I don't disagree with you there. But it's too much to generalize. I know some great producers in California that don't have investors, that are small time, that are doing all the right things. They're sweating their brains out. They're barely making profit. They don't see their kids enough, but they're selling in 40, 50 LA Bay Area dispensaries, and they're trying. And just because they're in that adult use market, I'm not going to hate on them. You know, because they're trying.
Don't say that I'm doing that, please.
Sean, let you got to let Chris. Sean, you have to let Chris finish speaking.
I mean, Gavin Newsom banned all hemp like a year ago now, plus. And so that route, unless you have the plan of exporting and playing this, I'm going to grow it in California as hemp and get it tested in Oregon and mail it to New York or whatever, Texas, that game has a higher risk as well. You can ask any lawyer that if you're in that hemp route and you're crossing state lines, your whole business plan is on some pretty weakly defined definitions here right now that could also just evaporate tomorrow. You know, and Sean, I see you not agreeing with me on your face, but
I'm sad for you, Chris. It's not about not agreeing. I'm sad because it sounds to me like you're asking for more regulations, and it makes me sad.
I'm not. I'm asking for a clearly defined pathway for a business that makes sense, and neither pathway right now makes sense, and both come.
What doesn't make sense in hemp about age gate, COAs with testing?
COAs with testing are stupid.
But that's only Texas. And most of that
want to know what they're consuming. People want to know what they're consuming.
People don't care. People do not care what they're consuming. No one reads labels on food that they eat and all that. Stop it.
Specifically about the language of the hemp, what has been proposed from hemp side about regulating cannabis. Let me know what you hate, because what it says is age gate.
I'm down with age gating. I have no problem with age gating, but testing is stupid. Testing is a waste of money.
And
testing is dumb.
I don't think there's really much more than that. And it hurts me. I wasn't shaking my head. Also, I love that I couldn't say that when you postulate that I'm hating on Californian operators who I've worked with and I'm trying to help.
You can say whatever you want, Sean, but we just want to have a normal discussion.
Yeah, I love how you guys can say that I hate and then it continue. I can't say I don't hate, but you guys can interrupt and step all over me and all this stuff.
No one's interrupting you.
I don't hate on California operators. I'm trying to get you guys better laws. If I can help Texas get it right, then perhaps on the federal level, we can influence legislation that will help to alleviate some of the pressure.
The only thing that's going to help California law, Sean, is if we get a Republican governor. And shout out to the governor's race last night. Yeah, Steve Hilton is in the lead right now with like 57%. So congratulations to him and all the people working on that. I was surprised by that. We might have California has a jungle primary going on, and the top two candidates might actually be Republicans for the gubernatorial race. This might get real interesting over here in California, you guys. It's very possible. Dale shaking his head.
Cannabis is a thankless job, friends. So if you're expecting any kind of gratitude, appreciation, or logic, reason, let go of that.
What's that, Dale?
You're smoking crack if you think they're going to figure anything out in California.
Well, you know.
I am so skeptical of this government being able to do anything right. just unbelievable here.
Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale's been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, and they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow. But he is honest and he's unconcerned with public opinion, your opinions, and anyone that wants to identify in any other way's opinion. And he will show you how he can defy gravity and put his cape on by pissing up a rope. He is your favorite T.O. Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. It's your favorite T.O. Loco and Jason's favorite full of Piticus. My story comes out of Marijuana Moment yesterday, and Kyle Yeager wrote it. And the headline is, Pennsylvania governor pushes lawmakers to legalize marijuana, saying softening of federal policy under Trump clears the way. Now, I think that's probably a general statement. We're trying to lean on legislators. We're trying to get this thing fixed at a federal level. They talk about it at a local level. When I read this, I just had to shake my head. They're not learning a damn thing in places like California. I mean, Josh Shapiro's trying to, say all the right things here. We're losing revenue. We've got people going to local states to get weed they want, and we can't figure this out, and blah, 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 which is all true. But when I took a look at the details he's proposing, I just had to shake my head. They're coming out of the gates with a 20% wholesale tax on marijuana. Now, that's wholesale tax is different from an excise tax, but the tax is 20%. And at whatever point in the food chain they decide to impose this tax, it's going to be devastating for whoever has to pay it. Okay? An excise tax is typically at the retail. When everything's added up, you add a percentage to it for excise of this particular product. And that's killing California because we're at 15%, and there was a huge battle last year to keep it from going to 19% because 15% is killing the industry. Now, what I don't know when they say a wholesale tax, I really don't know exactly what that means, because we had a cultivation tax here in California, and that was killing cultivators. Who was paying that? Somebody had to pay it, and the cultivators who were living on small margins couldn't pay it. It ended up the distributors. They didn't pay it. We had just a huge nightmare here. Okay? So 20% tax at anywhere in the food chain is just incredibly stupid. You have not been paying attention to what's going on in places like California. The other thing that I had to read this several times to really believe it said that, and I'm still a bit skeptical that it really is this number. What they said is that there's to convert from medical to adult use or to open adult use dispensary, out of the gates, it's $24 million. Okay? And I had to take a step back. It's like $24 million for a goddamn license to sell weed? What are you talking about? And then every year it's a $500,000 renewal. Like, folks, if you learn nothing from California, it's that if you make these costs too high, Trap is just begging you to come my direction. Okay. And I would like to say that we're turning a corner here somewhere, and Shaun is hopeful that if we use logic and data, that the government will pull its head out of its ass. These people are still looking at marijuana as a cash cow. Oh, we're going to raise revenue. We're going to, make all this money because we just take a little of the cream off the top. They fail to recognize is we still have 280E as a problem. Okay, I mean, it's a huge problem because you can only subtract cost of goods sold from your revenues. So you're paying tax money on money that you had to spend to keep your business going because 280 doesn't let you write it off. So the effective taxes are just astronomical. We're talking 60, 70 or more percent. Okay, and what I don't know in Pennsylvania is whether locals get to have regulations and taxes. It sounds to me like They think they're going to be able to solve their overspending problems by putting an IV into the cash cow. And in my experience, they won't pull the IV out until the damn cow is dead.
Nope.
So what I'm looking at here, it just makes me shake my head. Why can't legislators actually do what Shaun thinks they could do? Take data, have realistic conversations, be be rational and logical. And what we still suffer from is this idea that weed is a drug and drugs are bad and we've got to stop it. So we're going to punish people. We're going to make this hard. By the way, we're going to take all the money we can from you. This is just not a realistic assessment of the situation. And if you take an honest look at where they had hemp flourish, government got the hell out of the way. And you're right, Jason, people don't read these COAs.
Yep, no one cares.
They don't care. Okay. If you step around the corner and buy a bag from the trap, no one's got a COA. Nobody cares. Does it get me high? Fine. Okay. That's what we found from people voting with their pocketbooks. Okay? That's the kind of data that legislators should be looking at, but they don't. Okay. They still think that we have this massive cash cow. And what I might point out is nobody's talking about lowering spending in these states. They're all talking about how do we increase revenues. Well, there was an old song from 10 years after in the late 60s that you tax the rich, feed the poor, until there are no rich no more. Okay? And that's what we're looking at here. Anybody who tried to get into the cannabis industry has been taxed and regulated to death. There is no more take from them. And yet we see a state that's supposed to be, progressive, if you will, trying to step in and fix this out of the gate, 20% and $25 goddamn million. Where do you think that money's going to come from? I mean, how far up your ass do you have to be before you can see that your head's up your ass? This is not going to fix anything. It's getting under my skin. I'm going to throw it back at you guys for comments because this just seems incredibly stupid and short-sighted.
You are 100% right about that. It is totally one-sided on this. But you know what the Democrats do best, Dale? And this is a Democratic governor in Pennsylvania. They overtax and overregulate. That is what they do best as far as everything that Democrats do.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. I think Dale,
holy shit! Hold on, let me get a bell.
Jason, I've said it. I don't make it a Democrat-Republican issue. I actually talk to them very candidly. That's why I'm able to speak to both Democrats and Republicans.
I speak to both of them.
Dale, I think you're going to have some hope because actually one of those legislators who I spoke with, Senator Nathan Johnson, who is a Democrat and running for the Texas Attorney General, he did listen. And I think one thing that we're forgetting is perhaps the legislators do have to make their quick statements, their PR clips, their viral media, whatever, especially in this era of politics, which is tragic. But a lot of the work also is done by their staffers.
Yep, that part's true.
They are everyday people just like us. And the thing about that is that you can share logic and reason with them, and they do actually listen. And I will happily say Senator Johnson got it and put together the most progressive cannabis bill that Texas had ever seen in the 2025 ledge, but that is largely ignored because of all the drama. So there is, and I get it. Everybody thinks I'm a hopeless, naive, or I don't know too much. I don't care. I landed myself when I was very young. I dedicated my life to public service and I enlisted in the military. And my whole shtick was because I wanted to be a combat photojournalist. And that was my little pipe dream when I was a kid, is I want to be a war photographer. And then I went and I did it. So this whole trying to get people to see the reality of a situation and then fixing it is just what I do. That's why I'm here. Cannabis, I just happened to stumble into you.
All right. Well, let's get back to the story, Shaun. We need to focus on this Pennsylvania thing.
What I'm telling you is that there are so many different people from so many different backgrounds who are serving in these roles as your public servants, and that they are serving some of these candidates. And I think you'll find some hope in the Texas story. But we have no choice but to continue to show up to help them understand that this is nonsensical. Because
I agree. People got to show up. I totally agree with that.
25 mil, whoever your inside opposition is, that's who pitched 25 mil. I guarantee you those kinds of numbers come from inside, or they come from some kind of speculation where they say, oh, this illicit operation gets this, so you should ask for this. That's what it is. It's your ops, guys.
Communications.
Yeah, but the problem is this is politics, okay? And we're inside pendulum swinging. And at the federal level, and I got to give Trump his props.
Oh, yeah.
Bullshit. Let's get right through this. Push it and get it to the point where it's Schedule 3. Now, I don't want it to be a Schedule 3. But, you know, I've been in this since Prop 215. And you see these steps being taken. Once you get there, the camel's nose is under the tent. You walk in and stand up and say, we've always been here. That's how you have to move forward here. And the pendulum swing, if we get the federal level to change the approach to marijuana, and it's going to filter down. But within politics here, there's some explosive shit on the horizon coming up here. I'd like to think that we're trying to stay ahead of it. But I'm involved in politics here in California, and I'm channeling George Carlin up here eating my popcorn.
Yeah.
You guys are full of shit here because you keep following the same game plan. I dealt with the staffers, and too much of it's what I call performative. I'm down here knocking on doors. Yeah, we're talking, but what actually gets done? Diddly squat. Okay? And that's the problem we have. I think that Trump's going to kick the anthill, and where it goes from there, who knows? But within this industry, I've watched people lose everything they had so many times. It's heartbreaking. And the government says, oh, we're going to do something to help you. What they actually do is throw a more shovel of dirt inside the hole you're in. It's unbelievable. And common sense and logic is nowhere to be seen here. It's just not. The Republicans want to cut taxes and regulations, and the Democrats want to add more of them. And in the middle of that fight, everybody's spending like drunken sailors right now.
That part's true.
This can't be sustained. At some point, it's going to go kaboom. Now, can our industry survive? Yeah, because the trap will always be there. And that's what got our industry where we are right now.
Exactly. That's right.
It's there to pick up when you guys fall on your face. It'll continue servicing the public. But at some point, we've got to move beyond the trap and make this so actually we are capturing some sales tax revenue. Get out of the way, treat it more like alcohol, an intoxicant. People want to use it. They're going to get it any way that they can. And can we acknowledge that and move forward to a more logical position? Well, I don't know, because we haven't even started the 2026 election cycle, and this is just going to get crazy.
Yeah. I want to hear what you got to say, Chris. Go ahead.
Just back to the article talking about Pennsylvania. I've lived in Pennsylvania. Most people in Pennsylvania are in the southeast part of the state, Philly metro. New Jersey's right there. Even with a medical card in PA, there's a 5% excise tax on cannabis. And it's pretty much just MSOs that they've let in. There's no, mom and pop dispensaries or anything like that. Most people are just driving to New Jersey, which only has sales tax on their cannabis. There's no excise tax. They can get the same MSO product for a lot cheaper. So I understand Pennsylvania is losing revenue for adult use simply by proximity, people crossing state lines. This happens in a lot of places. The next article I'm going to be reading is about Wisconsin, and it's the same thing. People drive to Chicago, people drive to Michigan. So I think Box Brown made a great comic about this a while back, about how messed up the PA market is and how much greed there is and how there isn't any small producers. And like you said, Jason, this the approach is going to be just tax it more. They are going to open it up, but to who? It's going to be just more MSOs, more taxation. 5% excise tax on a medical product seems like
crazy
theft to me for people. Yeah. You know, I understand excise taxes in recreational markets, but if you're truly medical and this is supposed to be a product that's helping people and you're charging a 5% excise tax, I mean, excise taxes are supposed to be vices.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
So there's a lot of ridiculousness with it. I mean, I guess it's a push in the right direction for the people of Pennsylvania as far as access. But, you know, like I said, I encourage anyone to just look up that Box Brown comic. I want to say he did that about 6 months ago, a year ago, about the people crossing from Pennsylvania to New Jersey. But it's a mess, and what they really need in Pennsylvania more than anything is a true free market, and not hand out these licenses for monopolies.
Yep, and that's that. Well, Pennsylvania has been doing that from the beginning, as far as how their whole system has been rigged for the, you know what I'm saying, for those elitist groups. Let's just call them that. And on that, we're gonna roll into our next commercial that's currently airing on Fox News.
Rescheduling cannabis, which was classified as more dangerous than fentanyl. Trump's action will destroy the cartel's illicit black market, expand medical research, and ensure seniors and veterans safely receive the care they need. Thank President Trump for delivering on another America First promise.
The Republicans get a chance to tax and regulate. They do too.
Oh yeah, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And make sure that you are following us on X and Rumble, as those are the most stable platforms in the metaverse. And if you are around Ventura County this weekend, make sure to stop by the grand opening of Bard Boys. That's you know what I'm saying, I'm part owner in that place, so you know what I'm saying, come out, support, say what's up, say hi, and I might even possibly be there saying what's good. So shout out to the whole crew over there at Bard Boys in Oxnard in Ventura County, you guys. It's right off the freeway, right off the 101, super convenient, plenty of parking, and we'll see you there.
Under President Trump, America is back. Trump's delivered the largest tax cut in history, putting more money in our pockets and restored America's economic dominance. Promises made, promises kept. Now it's time to fulfill another promise from President Trump and reschedule cannabis, which supports over 400,000 jobs and creates billions of dollars in economic growth. Reschedule cannabis and stack another win, Mr. President. America First Agriculture Action Inc. is responsible for the contents of this advertising.
Ah, yes, and we are back. And you know, just to your point, Dale, Thomas Cross in the chat, he says, I really wish people would stop saying mom and pop dispensary, though. It's an oxymoron, LOL. But on that, we're going to roll right into Miss Shaun Salvaje. She's a mom, not a pop. But she is a proud veteran who served her country proud. And she is also a mediator who loves to mediate in between of tough disputes. It is none other than Miss Shaun Salvaje.
Thank you for the intro, Jason. My story today comes out of marijuana moment. Bipartisan Texas lawmakers. Dale, this is going to give you some hope. Jason, you're going to love this one.
I hope so. We'll see.
Because GOP is in the headlines.
Oh, yeah. I love the GOP. The grand old party.
Bipartisan Texas lawmakers want hemp THC regulated instead of banned, with GOP reps saying market is too big to ignore. This is brought to you by Kyle Yeager. Just a note, we are in the dishes rulemaking process. Comment period has closed, and we have yet to hear what those new rules will be. So good timing on this. Let's pushing this kind of media because we need those rulemakers to hear this stuff. Bipartisan Texas lawmakers say the stage is set to advance legislation next session establishing regulations for hemp THC products, with growing understanding among their colleagues that prohibition fails to effectively address concerns about the cannabis market. During a panel at the Texas Cannabis Policy Conference last week, State Senator Nathan Johnson, proud of you, And Republican Representative Drew Darby, also, we are fans of Darby, spoke about the future of hemp policy in the Lone Star State. While marijuana legalization may remain out of immediate reach in the Texas legislature, they said it's been made clear to lawmakers that hemp regulations must be enacted. Darby said himself he was initially predisposed toward prohibition, but he credited testimony from veterans, patients, business owners, and families for changing his mind and leading him to conclude that prohibition doesn't work. People were finding relief. Veterans were trying to avoid opioids. Small businesses had invested their livelihoods. The real-life impacts were undeniable, he said at the event hosted by the Texas Cannabis Policy Center. That's when we shifted direction towards regulation instead of prohibition. Let's regulate it, police it, tax it, and protect Texans. This process was transformational for me. I think it was also transformational because we told them how that would affect campaigns. Oh, and it's true. As far as specific regulatory policy is concerned, the lawmakers said future regulations must promote public safety and further mitigating youth access, age gating. He also signaled that banning synthetic or adulterated hemp THC products remains a priority. That's what worries me the most. Entirely synthetic derivatives, poorly understood, poorly labeled. We've seen real harm, and that is something we must address legislatively. While it remains to be seen how state lawmakers might approach hemp regulations in the coming session, there is a complication at the federal level. A large-scale spending bill President Donald Trump signed last year included provisions to effectively ban most consumable hemp products. But stakeholders and certain legislators have expressed confidence that policy will be reversed or at least delayed before it's set to take effect this coming November. In the interim, Texas regulators have taken a series of steps to enact rules around consumable hemp products over recent months, which began after Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, vetoed a bill last year that would have effectively eradicated the state's hemp market. The governor's veto sets a policy direction, Darby said. The legislature should take that seriously. Right now, there's confusion between legislative intent, agency rulemaking, and federal policy changes, he said. This is one of the most fluid policy environments I've seen, but this industry's too big to ignore. We'll have to address it next session. Johnson, for his part, said 2025 was a strange year as the Senate became, frankly, an anti-THC machine. The legislature fell asleep at the wheel while this industry grew. Lack of regulation invites collapse. We need frameworks that protect consumers, support responsible businesses, and avoid criminalizing people for making personal health decisions. He added that Abbott's veto of the prohibitionist plan happened because of activism, particularly Republican activists. The polling was terrible for prohibition. The governor made a clear statement. Let's be adults, regulate it. Let adults be adults, regulate it, that too. And that changed everything, he said. Credibility matters. If you come in, this is from the legislator, guys. He is providing feedback on what they were receptive to. And I implore you to try this in your states. Although I know some states, like California, are very far gone because you got that whole LA, Hollywood, you got a whole ecosystem out there that is well before cannabis. Credibility matters. If you come in only talking about profits or benefits, you lose trust. And a lot of duplicitous medical operators lost some trust this past session because they lied to the legislators and the legislators found out. Ooh, if you come in only talking about profits or benefits, you lose trust. Bring us the problems too. Tell us what can go wrong and how to fix it. That turns skeptics into allies. Johnson also told the Texas Tribune that he does believe Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, a Republican and staunch prohibitionist, will try again to end the hemp market during the 2027 session. However, I don't think the House is going to go with it again. And I do believe this will become a big campaign issue as we get closer to November and through the summer when we need distractions. In late December, meanwhile, the Department of State Health Services, DSHS, released a set of proposed rules to regulate the state's hemp market. It's pretty much a de facto ban. You guys know all about that. They've received comments. Hopefully, they will be as open to the feedback that we gave them as Darby was, and a number of the Republicans in the Texas legislature. And I do think that is why we haven't heard from Dishes and why we didn't see the rules that were proposed immediately implemented. DPS in October adopted additional rules to increase the number of licensed dispensaries on the medical side, establishing security requirements for satellite locations and authorizing the revocation of licenses for certain violations. That's on the medical marijuana side. But Dishes also recently finalized rules allowing doctors to recommend new qualifying conditions for cannabis patients. So they are leaning into expanding medical, but we'll see what they do on the hemp side. Right now, nothing has changed. So for operators looking for a word of advice, because it is a little bit of an unpredictable market at this moment, take comfort in the fact that nothing has changed and then that everything can always be litigated. Don't make any crazy risky moves, but nothing has changed. So don't be afraid and panicking alone in the dark. Go do something, take care of business, take action, and that's going to get you moving to the next step. Okay. Nothing has changed yet. Keep moving. Gonna toss it back to you guys.
Oh, that's right. I guess we're just going to tell people to pull up their britches and throw on their cowboy boots and do some kicking of some tumbleweed, because everything's going to be A-OK in the great red state of Texas.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the march isn't over. Pick up your rock and follow me. Let's go.
Yeah.
Keep moving. There should be a little dose of hope. You have a Republican and a Democrat at a cannabis policy center conference in the heart of Austin, Texas. I think it was at UT.
Is there only like a handful of Democrats in Texas and they all live in Austin?
No. Jason, I think Texas has the most Democrats actually next to New York.
Tiny blue dot.
Yeah, tiny blue dot, baby.
No, guys,
the Blue Lagoon. The Blue Lagoon.
Look it up. I think next to New York, Texas actually has or in California, Texas has the most Democrats.
New York doesn't have any Democrats. They have communists and they have some Republicans.
Well, we're all entitled to our own propaganda.
I will say we need like a Disney animated movie where Jason does like 3 different voices for different characters. I think that I would watch that over and over again.
Oh, bro, it would be so good. It would be so good.
I want to hear a Snoop Dogg impression.
Snoop Dogg impression is just inhale and exhale, Dale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you
smoking yesterday?
What do you think about the legislators' feedback, Dale? Like, I know that you guys are frustrated, but life is frustrating. Like, I don't know. I feel like a Buddhist sometimes. I'm like, life is suffering. What do you want? Or is that like my Jewish half coming out? Like, you know?
It's possible.
No, Texas is in a place that I recognize from California at the end of the 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we had an Attorney General, Dan Lundgren, was just vehement and rabid about, stopping anybody from using weed. Okay? And, the people said, nah, get out of here. We don't want you anymore. They turned the corner, but that was 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Took us another dozen or more years before we got to a point where, okay, now we can take the next step. And what I see in Texas is some of the same things happening. You're having struggles at the top levels of what's logical, what's compassionate, okay, because cannabis has been a medicine since the Chinese first started writing about it 5,000 years ago. This stuff works the same way. So we know that it does that. But one of the things I want to give props to Trump on is to treat drug use and drug abuse as a medical issue and get it out of the criminal justice system, because we're still trapped there. What the AG in Texas is talking about is we got to stop these drug addicts. Well, we got to stop people like you with your head up your ass, because drugs are a medical problem. Even the most deep into meth addiction or heroin addiction, there are ways that you can help people and get them away from stealing your copper and flat backing on the sidewalk to get the drugs they need. We need to move to another place, and it's not going to happen very easily, because you can see every place we're fighting about, whether weed should be legal or not, At its core is an assumption this is a vice. If you do this, this is like heroin. This is like cocaine. No, it's not. It's not in that same category, and it has medical benefits. Can we take a look at people who use drugs and get in trouble and allow medicine to treat them with the help of the criminal justice system? If you're a drug addict and you can't stop your behavior and you're putting other people at risk, the system needs to step in and stop you. But we need to look at the demand here for drugs, okay? And the demand for cannabis is huge. That's what, Greg Abbott realizes, that people want this, okay? We tell them no, they're going to do it anyway, which is a great thing to say. But for the last, 100 years, we have tried to use the criminal justice system to stop people from using things to make them feel better and ultimately get them in trouble. We've made the prohibition so onerous now that, you walk down the Tenderloin, you got these fentanyl people that can't even stand up.
The zombies, bro.
It's horrible what we have done. We don't have another avenue. Doctors are scared shitless to get in and do this, even though there are things like Suboxone that really effectively deal with opioid addiction and things like that. We can go in a different direction. But will we do it? Because, again, Trump kicked the anthill here. We want to push people into medicine as opposed to jail, because jail doesn't fix drug addiction, doesn't address it. These are substances of despair. Can we look at white people are that way? Stop treating normal human misery as a mental illness and see if we can try to bring some reality to what people do when they're in the privacy of their own home, and just leave them alone. Can we get off of our high horse of telling you don't do this because I'm your dad and I'll whip you if you do?
Yeah.
You're an adult. You can do what you want. But if you spill over and hurt other people, we're going to step in and do something. But if you're I know a lot of people who are alcoholics. They have gone to a point where they don't use anymore. They're good, productive members of society. We don't castigate them like we do someone who is a meth or coke or heroin addict. They're the devil now, and they can never redeem themselves. And caught up in all of this is we're going to tax the hell out of this and regulate it because it's so dangerous to society. There's no evidence to support that, but people buy that narrative. So I'm hoping we can move a lot of this on down the road to a new place. But again, the pendulum swinging in politics right now. If you got to spend $1 million to start a business in the cannabis or hemp industry with this kind of uncertainty, my advice is don't.
Yeah.
Go to the trap.
Yep.
I think they also realize, so sorry, guys. I just took.
Easy there.
I'll be short. I think they also realize, I'm going to give credit to our hemp cannabis community out here in Texas. Very powerful social media force and influential group that has really helped them to realize if they don't get ahead of it, they will lose the social campaign. So they don't want to be on the side of prohibitionists anymore because they know that's going to lose them some seats. And Texans are frustrated. If you take their weed away, they're going to have a real big problem with you. Chris, go ahead.
I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I see everybody in the comments arguing, hemp versus cannabis, and it seems to be
it's so fun to watch.
Theme. Yeah, it's a recurring theme on this show that I think the reality is we're all on the same side. Like Dale said, the anthill got kicked, and we're all attacking each other instead of looking at who kicked the anthill. And cannabis is a plant. And we can call it whatever words we want, or label it whatever we want, test it and put it in this category or that category. But at the end of the day, we are still a long way from any kind of sound regulation for this product.
You know what, Chris, you make a good point. And how I see it is the only reason to me that there's a differentiation between hemp and cannabis is because it's all about what the customer wants. If the customer wants to buy weed, I'm going to sell him weed. If the customer wants to buy hemp, I'm going to sell him hemp. I don't care what it is because I care about the money. Straight up. I don't care. I'm here to make sales and here to do commerce and all of that. I don't care if people want to call it this, they want to call it that. It's all the same plan. It's all cannabis sativa L. But guess what? I don't have time to explain this all to all of them all the time. And so if they want to call it hemp, that's great. We call it THCA. That's fantastic. If they want to call it medical, if they want to call it adult use, whatever, I don't care whatever they want to call it. The only thing that I care is that their money is real and their credit cards work. And that's all that I care. That's it.
Okay,
that's it. Hold on, Sean. Because at the end, hold on, Sean, let me finish what I'm saying, Sean. Because at the end of the day, it's all about weed for the people. That's what it's all about.
And your money, apparently. Jeez,
100%.
You were going for a while on the money thing. If you would have just dropped to the weed for the people.
Oh, we could talk about going on for whiles all the time, Sean. That's not the place.
Yeah. Okay. About how you're so into profits. Okay.
I am. I'm a capitalist.
Cool. I think the other thing to be mindful of is the consumer is aware it's all cannabis. They know it's all the same thing.
No, they're not. They're not aware of that. No way. The only reason that there are differences is because of the legal definition. You think your consumer is so ignorant? They're not that ignorant. And if you're shooting for an ignorant consumer, you're aiming low. You're missing the whole point.
I would never speak that way about my consumer audience. I find it really distasteful. I'm going to disengage.
Okay.
Weird.
It's all good. It's going to be fine.
Let me just say this, that John Hancock, who signed his signature real big.
Yep.
So that King George could read it without his spectacles.
Yep.
Was the most notorious smuggler in the colonies.
Yep.
Our founding fathers told King and all these stupid, ridiculous rules, go F yourself. Because I'm thinking about YouTube. We're not going to do it. And we're the same people today. You make a ridiculous line in the sand, we're going to go, some people won't cross it. But there's a whole lot of us that went, yeah, hold my beer.
Yep.
I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
And that's the problem they got, because you can make all the rules you want. You just can't enforce them. Now, where does that leave us?
Fair enough.
As someone who, I don't consider myself a capitalist. I mean, I'm not a communist, but I think if we did even the playing field and we took away all this regulation and we let the free market compete against itself, the true cream would rise and you would have a more educated consumer. It's in the interests of these big greedy businesses that are only profit driven to create limited license markets, to keep consumers in the dark about what a quality product is. A true free market would eliminate all this. We wouldn't have to have these loopholes and changes of legal definitions. We wouldn't have all these semi-synthetics. We just need that. We need a free market where the small guy can compete with the big guy and show that he can produce a better quality product for less and have that access to the consumer. Problem is that we have lobbyists and lawyers, no offense, Dale, continually standing in the way. Not lawyers like Dale. They work for the other side. Dale's a Jedi. We're talking about the dark side here.
I want to remind you guys, this was a hopeful story about how the work was positive and saved cannabis in Texas.
We're talking about. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
For now, it's like one of those last minutes.
It's still all on quicksand. It still could change at any moment or whatnot. And you know what I'm saying? You're still going to stay vigilant, be ready to pivot, all of that stuff.
You guys have a regulated market. And Chris, didn't you earlier say that they're constantly changing the rules on you all the time? Like, that's the name of the game. That's what I don't want to go dark with it. I'm proud of the Republicans and Democrats who showed up at this conference and they listened to the people and they realized this was a kitchen table voting issue in red states.
Well,
and I hope to see better policy.
I'm proud of the Republicans that showed up, and I expected the Democrats to show up. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think I necessarily need to be proud. I'm glad that they showed up, but I don't need to be proud of them for showing up because that's what they you know what I'm saying, what they try to stand on. But nonetheless, we're going to go to our next commercial, and we're going to be right back. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. Are back, you guys, and we're going to roll right into Mr. Christopher Vaos. And Christopher Vaos is a seasoned cannabis industry professional with over 15 years of experience in commercial cultivation. He has led large-scale indoor greenhouse and outdoor operations across various U.S. markets, specializing in cultivation optimization, team leadership, and cost-efficient scaling. Not like scaling like Spider-Man, but scaling in the commerce world. With a background in engineering and data-driven science-based approach, Christopher is consistently delivering strong results, test results in plant health, productivity, and operational safety. It is none other than Mr. Christopher Vaos.
All right. Thanks for the intro. This article is coming from Wisconsin Public Radio.
Yeah.
Wisconsin Democrats announce marijuana legalization bill. And if you look at the article, there's a picture of a very hippie looking hemp farmer in the caption who is an advocate for legalizing marijuana. Interesting. Anyway, in a bid to capitalize on recent bipartisan pushes to regulate the STEM's hemp industry, Wisconsin Democrats have introduced a bill to fully legalize marijuana. So they're admitting that it's the same thing. But the effort to create a legal recreational and medical program is all but sure to fail. Republicans who control both chambers of the legislature have not taken up previous Democratic attempts at legalization and have nixed repeated attempts by Governor Tony Evers to include legalization in his state budgets. GOP leadership has said it will only consider limited medical programs. They need to learn a couple things from Texas, it sounds like. Still, Democrats who introduced their latest proposal Monday said that in the face of a changing federal approach to hemp regulation, full legalization would be both an economic boon for the state and a way to limit incarceration. Arresting someone for smoking weed does not make our neighborhoods safer, said Representative Darren Madison. It limits access to jobs, housing, education, and stability for life, and those arrests fall overwhelmingly on Black and brown communities. The proposal would create a licensing system for growers, processors, and retailers and regulate the testing and distribution of marijuana products. It would create a process for reviewing the sentences of people locked up on drug charges with a path to vacating current convictions or expunging a person's personal record of past convictions. That's progressive. At a press conference announcing the legislation, Mike Sickler, who owns a I don't know how to say the name of that town. Menominee, someone in Wisconsin help me out here. Based cannabis retailer Terrasol said the legalization would let businesses like his continue under a clear legal framework. We already have the infrastructure. We already have the best practices in place. We already have the workforce. We already have the market. What does not exist is a clear state law that allows us to continue operating responsibly, Sickler said. Legal cannabis allows businesses like mine to transition into a regulated system instead of shutting down or leaving the state. It protects jobs, it supports farmers, it keeps revenue here instead of it going to Illinois and Michigan. According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, 40 states have legal medicinal marijuana programs, and 24 allow for some form of recreational use. Wisconsin advocates point to public polling in the state that shows most voters support legalizing cannabis, including just under half of Republicans and a large majority of Democrats and independents. But Assembly Speaker Robin Vaos has said he won't back recreational marijuana, and GOP leaders across the Assembly and Senate have struggled to create a unified plan for establishing a medical program. Instead, recent GOP efforts have been focused on regulating the existing hemp industry. Those businesses flourished in the wake of a federal loophole created by the 2018 Farm Bill, which was unexpectedly closed late last year as part of the deal to end the 2025 government shutdown. That move sent Wisconsin hemp farmers and producers of low-dose THC products derived from hemp scrambling to understand the new landscape. Bipartisan bills have since been introduced to adapt Wisconsin legal hemp framework. One would introduce a 3-tier regulatory system to how alcohol is regulated. Another would essentially add guardrails to the status quo, adding safety standards to the existing market of vapes, gummies, edibles, and beverages that have proliferated across Wisconsin. Interesting. One side wants to take the very Texas approach and regulate it the way it is. The other side wants to go full legalization. It seems like it's very, very partisan here, and they're drawing their lines among party lines. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm not surprised by that.
The party line was, though, that the Republicans wanted exclusively medical.
It did say that the Republicans were
exclusively medical.
Limited medical, but it did say that they wanted to regulate
the current hemp industry.
Yeah.
They need to stop that. It's not a good look for them. They really need to stop that. They cannot say that they're about freedom and liberty and whatnot, and be saying, "Hey, you know what? We need to limit this. We need to limit that." And it's totally contrary to their whole belief system.
Well, Wisconsin's still one of the best states to go trap in. So,
well, it's not strange to me that a hemp operator would be for cannabis legalization on the state level, especially if Wisconsin didn't change their controlled substances. I know your face is like scrunched because that's two realities cannot exist at once.
No, that's not why my face is scrunched. I have a different reason.
That is what I'm saying. I'm sorry. You didn't want me to interrupt. People over profits over people, profits over people, profits over people. I'm going to just finish the one sentence here, but I promise I'm not going to go long. But I do think that you would see something like this because you'll have your hemp operators who are trying to negotiate for whatever the safety net could potentially be on that marijuana side. And then you work from there. It is sometimes a risky approach because sometimes they come in too soft. Like that's when you'll see things where you fraction and you have 5 milligram caps or stupid shit like that. And that's when you need to make sure like your hemp community and your cannabis market, because we are lucky in Texas, they're the same for us. It's hemp and it's cannabis, guys. It is our cannabis industry. And it's THCA for anyone who's confused. It's the same thing, but it's not because it's not decarboxylated and the legal definitions matter.
Wait, so if I get pulled over in Texas and I tell the cop this is marijuana?
I'm very lucky. Yeah, because they defined it as Delta 9. They did adjust their Controlled Substances Act and they created legal language. And I'm very lucky to have been able to operate in the space that I've been in. And it's unfortunate Wisconsin doesn't have that same thing. So you're going to see sometimes fractions where they try to take a safety net or try to figure out how we can do this smartly because they already see the road ahead is that the feds are going to move on it soon, or at least on the hemp side, and that it's already in question. Better to try to manage it locally as much as possible because what happens on the DC level is sometimes really out of your hands and not everyone has that kind of influence.
Well, I've seen this in California and it's just stark. I've had clients who were these progressive Democrats that got into, start opening a business. They figured out, because it's easy to see that you're taxed and regulated into obscurity.
Yep.
Okay. And they're pissing and moaning. It's like, listen, what did you do when you didn't like something? You taxed and regulated the shit out of it. Okay. And then I sit down with Republicans who traditionally, like, we want fewer regulations, lower taxes. It's like, you just passed regulations and taxes that are draconian. Okay. Look at how easy it is when you don't like what someone's trying to do. And that dynamic is going on right now. And within the pendulum swing we're seeing right now between Republicans and Democrats, somewhere in the middle is where I'd like people to focus a little more. Because there's some handwriting on the wall here about where this needs to be going. And I would hope that at the federal level, they could provide some guidance. And if not, that Trump will continue to kick the anthill until something happens out of this, because it can't continue the way it is right now, and trying to say we're trying to get legal when the trap is killing every place they've tried to go legal, and then when it's not legal, the trap's killing too. So there's a reality here. It's like towards the end of alcohol prohibition. like, you know what? Everything you're saying is horseshit. No one believes it anymore, but they keep saying it, and they keep taking actions based upon these nonsensical positions. If anything was learned out of the hemp experiment, is that people want this, and they want you to get the hell out of the way and let this run as an industry that has minimal regulations and minimal taxes, and give people what they want. This is not heroin. This is not fentanyl. It's not methamphetamine. So stop coming at it like it's one of those substances. Get out of the way. It's not even as dangerous as alcohol. We should think more along those lines than, oh, it's heroin or whatever. Stop that stuff.
I agree. But Democrats love to overtax and overregulate, and you know what I'm saying? And this is, I think it's going to ultimately is going to play out really bad for the people of Wisconsin overall. And the reason I was scrunching my face, Shaun, was because of the fact. Hold on. Let me tell you why first.
Well, I was talking to Chris before you get offended. You got your opinion.
It's all good. Well, I was crossing my face when you said that. So, you know what I'm saying? Maybe if Chris was, I didn't see it. I didn't see that. Maybe Chris was too. And maybe Chris wants to share why he was crossing his face at the same time too. But the reason I was crossing my face is because what we have witnessed in all of these Democrat-controlled states, that after they pass a regulated market, they want to pass an overall ban on hemp overall. And so that's why I was crossing my face, is because it's the regulators that are not allowing the markets to parallel exist, not necessarily the people or the consumer. And that was why I was crossing my face. So go ahead, Chris. Why were you crossing your face?
That's why it's so important that you create the best possible route from the beginning. Because once you go,
that's why you play both sides of the fence. Hedge your bets.
I was just rereading the article. I was doing my little rereading face.
Oh, okay. He was squinting.
Rationally or logically yet. No one has really figured this out.
Exactly.
It's just.
I don't think it's super hard though. It just needs an age game.
No, Shaun.
We're making it hard.
No, Shaun. These people make it hard because they're dumb. Okay, rule number 1: people are stupid. Okay, it just is what it is. All right, and once you learn how to work with rule number 1, you can be so much more effective.
Some people are smart, and we can all learn. We can learn from everyone, even the people who we think are dumb.
No, well, the only thing you're going to learn from people that are dumb is what not to do.
Oh, Jason.
Just saying. Well, on that, I have a happy story to finish the show out with you guys. Lots of cheers and smiles, okay? Put on your little happy little faces. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to flex my dimples, you know what I'm saying? Because a New Mexico zoo turns to CBD to help aging animals thrive, you guys. Everyone wants to have some relief, even the animals at the zoo. A zoo in eastern New Mexico has found a new way to help some of its oldest residents stay comfortable and active. That's right, CBD oil. According to a report from KOB4, the Hillcrest Park Zoo in Clovis, New Mexico, has partnered with a local hemp producer, Enchanted Desert Farms, to provide CBD oil for several senior animals struggling with age-related issues like arthritis and mobility decline. Zoo director Stephanie Chavez said the change has been especially noticeable in Sooner, a 15-year-old tiger who had been relying on strong medications that can be hard on the liver. In a quote, "He's had a really bad arthritis," Chavez told KOB. "He's been on like really harsh medications that are bad on his liver, like tramadol and everything." Sooner is no longer on these medications. Instead, he received CBD oil donated by the farm. Chavez says the difference is visible in his behavior. "He's a whole different cat. He's jumping, he's playing. You see him in his box. It is cool. He's training now, which is obviously amazing." The zoo has even been able to begin target training with him again, something that had become difficult as his mobility declined. Another beneficiary is Katie, a 15-year-old timber wolf. In the wild, timber wolves typically live 6 to 8 years, but Chavez says Katie's age alone makes her a remarkable case, and the CBD appears to help her keep alert and comfortable. You see her a bit more active, and her eyes are a lot more bright. With the exception of bone health vitamins, both animals are now off their previous medications. The CBD is provided by Sam and Rachel Viscanio, who have operated Enchanted Desert Farms for more than a decade. The couple originally focused on helping people find hemp-based products tailored to their needs and often discussing terpene profiles and symptom relief with customers. They did not expect zoo animals to become part of their clientele. What symptom are you trying to get some relief from? After that, well, kind of just try to help recognize that terpenes is going to help with that, and then just try to point you in the direction of the strain or the product, Rachel Viscano told KOB. Now, that same approach is being used to support aging wildlife. I feel like we're just helpers. People have helper personalities, and that's just how we come into this world. Chavez echoed the statement. I'm not surprised that people like them are helping zoo animals. They're really amazing people, she said. Zoo staff say they are considering adding other senior animals to the CBD regimen in the future and beyond the zoo. The Viscanos also donate CBD treats to local pet owners dealing with anxiety or pain in their animals, particularly around the 4th of July, and they regularly support area shelters with donations. What started as a small hemp operation aimed at helping people has quietly expanded into improving the daily lives of aging zoo animals in eastern New Mexico, you guys. Look at that, a happy tale of animals getting on that CBD oil to age their senior stresses. Dale, what do y'all have to say about this?
Kind of happy. I mean, zoos are prisons for exotic animals anyway. You know, it's like, why do we have a giraffe in New Mexico? And it's 2026 and we have giraffes taking CBD, but we don't have sensible cannabis policy for humans yet.
Well, you know, the part that kills me is that we don't have CBD as a dietary ingredient by the USDA for farm animals that we ultimately will eat. That is totally ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Well, they should be able to feed them what we call hemp, which we traditionally did. It doesn't taint the meat, you know?
Yep.
And cannabis has been a veterinary medicine for quite some time. Back in the 1800s, they gave it to their animals. In fact, they tested it physiologically on dogs. It works. Okay? So it isn't rocket science, and it just points out how ludicrous the overall policy in all this is. I mean, why not give some old wolf, you know, or some old tiger or some old elephant, mix it into their food, let them be happy? I mean, what is wrong with that? Why do we get this caught up in all of our thinking about drug addiction and nonsense like that?
I think we need to give this to some of the pandas too, and maybe some of the gorillas, and you know what I'm saying, some of the other, you know, some rhinos. Of course, the rhinos need it. You know what I mean?
I would imagine also if they've already been in captivity or they were rescues, which sometimes is the case with zoos. Like I agree with you, Chris, on using animals for commercial purposes in that way. And the zoo, but a lot of zoos nowadays are also taking in rescues that were harmed, that wouldn't otherwise survive. And I would imagine that the CBD, it helps with PTSD, is also helping with any anxiety that they might be feeling and being in a not completely natural environment. And it's so nice to hear that the timber wolf, that it helps her to be more alert, which would be the opposite of what some folks might think would be the result. Like they would think that relief would only come with relief and a kind of depression of sense. And that speaks to how we have found relief traditionally in the United States through, benzos and bottles. But I really love that it's kind of echoes a more holistic and natural approach to using plants as medicine, and really appreciate that it's a local hemp farmer who kind of stumbled into the opportunity. It makes me just want to get a little license for the ranch.
Oh, good,
just to have some hemp around just to have some hemp around in case we want to make it into some CBD oil and donate it to the shelters or zoos. I'm a big animal lady.
I love animals. I think animals are great. Animals are great.
Yes, we love animals.
I'm glad these animals are getting some relief. And now I hope you guys, you animals out there, get some relief too from some CBD oil, apparently. Well, and on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.